Hare Krishna. Welcome to another evening in the lives of the Vaishnava Acharyas. I'm your host, Chaturatma dasa. I want to welcome everyone. I'm very happy to be back. As many of you may know from my postings in my absence these last 3 or 4 weeks, and from those of you that are acquainted with me through Facebook, I had a family circumstance. My daughter was in a very severe accident, and was very touch and go for some time, but I'm quite happy to announce that she's made a full recovery, and we don't expect any lasting impact once everything is all said and done. So we're very thankful to Lord Chaitanya and Radha Krishna for their blessings to pull her out of this circumstance, and of course the prayers of so many Vaishnavas. So that brings us up to date with where I've been and why I haven't been here. So did we check? Okay, good. We're very happy to once again be taking up this show. This is a nice opportunity for Vaishnava Sangha, for the association of like-minded personalities, those personalities who have an interest to better their understanding about the history from which our Krishna consciousness comes from the vibrant and dynamic lives of the personalities who have formulated the very foundation of our devotional activities, and to, in many cases, get some very practical examples from such advanced, elevated devotees as the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, to understand how we can go about executing our daily life. Now, I would encourage those of you that are viewing our webcast this evening, if you would like, we encourage you to log into our chat room and let us know where you're from. Of course, we have many of our regular viewers there that we know. Bhaktin Carol, Tulsa Time, devotees like this that have been very regular in their encouragement and support of our program here. And those of you that are out there, if you'd like to log in, let us know that you're there, where you're listening from. We always like to have a little background, a little idea of where our broadcast is going. And speaking of support, we do encourage you that if you have some means or some interest, that this is certainly a worthwhile program to support, not necessarily just my program on Monday nights, but the program of Krishna.com. Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights, each night of the week there's some wonderful program being presented by Krishna.com and all the very hard-working devotees here. So you can help support that. It's not free. It does cost money, time, energy, people's efforts to produce these programs and to produce the content of Krishna.com. So if you're inclined, go to Krishna.com/donations, and you'll find instructions there on how you can help to support this wonderful vehicle for spreading Krishna consciousness. So with that, tonight I wanted to delve a little bit into what is association. I've had an opportunity over these last 3 or 4 weeks to get the association of many devotees worldwide, but not in the traditional sense. To receive their blessings, to be able to appreciate their extended prayers and energy as we went through this circumstance. I've just had someone asking how old my daughter is. Is she a year old or 2 years old? She's 21 years old. She's my youngest. I may refer to her in that way. But, in this way, we saw so many devotees reach out to us. So I got to contemplating, how is it that we associate with each other? I mean, Prabhupada has always given us the instruction about how to associate with non-devotees per se when we're out there mixing in the secular world, either in our efforts to spread Krishna consciousness or in our efforts and necessities to maintain our lives through our different types of occupations. And one thing that Prabhupada has very clearly pointed out is the ability to give association and not take that association. As I've mentioned many times, Rupa Goswami gives 4 primary ways to associate: to take the association of those who are seniors and be guided by that, to appreciate the association of those who are equals and share back and forth equally, to give guidance and encouragement to those that are juniors, and to respectfully avoid those that may not be quite up to the devotional character that we're hoping to obtain in our own lives. So how do we associate with non-devotees is very clearly given. But what is the key to associating with spiritually minded persons? I want to read one verse here from the Upadeshamrita of Rupa Goswami that's very pertinent in this particular incident. It's from text number 4 of the Nectar of Instruction. Dadati pratigrinati guyam ayati prichate bhunkte bojayate chaiva sadvidhim priti lakshanam. A translation of that verse: offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, and offering prasad. These are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee with another. So this is a very practical guidelines that we can use in conjunction with Rupa Goswami's other instruction on how do we get that association. Primarily, one of the most important factors in association is appreciation. And that appreciation comes, as Rupa Goswami mentions here, by the way we exchange gifts, by the way we reveal our mind and inquire from another, and by the way we give and honor prasadam with each other. I just had the good fortune today's Tuesday, Sunday, the Sunday feast with my dear friend Sesha Prabhu. We haven't had much association. He's been in India and I've been tied up with this incident, and I was able to secure a couple of gulab jamans, and he and I very happily shared these gulab jamans with each other. And it was a very joyful moment because it was prasadam and we were exchanging gifts, and we were very satisfied to do that. So this was a very simple way, but a very joyful way, and this is part of what Rupa Goswami is talking about. But the appreciation factor is very, very important, because sometimes when we get the opportunity to associate with other devotees, we may not appreciate it. We may be looking at that from a judgmental point of view. Now, my dear friend Mahatma Prabhu is doing a series of programs here on Krishna.com about how not to commit offenses in dealing with other devotees, what promotes us to commit those offenses. And I'm sure he's covered this topic very, very expertly. One thing that is mentioned in the Shastra is that if we see another devotee and we think in our mind, oh, that so-and-so devotee, he's of such a... This is actually considered not the proper way to associate. Now, I wanted to discuss tonight, in reference to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 2 types of association. 2, if you will, personalities, 2 jivas that both had the opportunity to intimately associate with the Lord, both of them gaining a vast different result. So first, what I want to do is speak about this devotee who maybe, shall we say, was not the most attentive in his association, and that would be Kala Krishnadas. Now, Kala Krishnadas was the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, I think it would be hard to find a more glorious service than to be the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu was leaving to go on his tour of South India, the devotees encouraged him, my dear Lord, you must take a servant. Because how will your one hand you have your beads, and the other hand you're counting. So who will carry your water pot? Who will carry your cloth? How will you so you must at least take a servant, someone that can assist you. So the Lord agreed, and the servant suggested was Kala Krishna. Very nice Brahmin, very good qualities, came from a very good background, was known to be gentle, well-behaved, soft-hearted in his habits, very simple. Not simple-minded, but very simple. This is an important thing because sometimes we refer to someone as being simple-minded, and we mean that as a negative thing. But someone who's simple at heart, it means that they don't have any duplicity. And duplicity is the beginning of this type of mentality where we see friends and enemies and good and bad like that. So these qualities were not there in Kala Krishna. So from Jagannath Puri, traveling all the way, you can imagine how ecstatic this must have been. Every day walking with the Lord, associating with the Lord, serving the Lord, arranging for the Lord's prasadam, however simple or elaborate, wherever they were, facilitating the Lord's sleeping, accommodating the Lord's walking, carrying the Lord's water pot. I mean, such a wonderful thing. Being there as the Lord went through the Jarikanda forest, being there as the Lord went through all of these different temples for darshan of the deities there, and seeing the mood of the Lord. Such a wonderful thing. Now, as they came in their journey to South India, they entered down to the very end of the continent of India. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Lila 9th chapter, Srila Prabhupada speaks about in this region were a class of men known as the Bhattaharis. And these Bhattaharis were basically what we would refer to nowadays as the gypsies. And this isn't meant to diminish or speak derogatorily of any particular class, but they're gypsies in the sense they were nomadic in their lifestyle. But they were not of the highest caliber. They were very well known for making the appearance of sannyasis, but for, how shall I say, obtaining women through questionable means and engaging those women in questionable activities, keeping them with them like this. So at any rate, they would entice persons. So it mentions in this 9th chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Lord Chaitanya was there, and somehow or another, Kala Krishna was enticed by the womenfolk of the Bhattaharis. Now, this is the interesting thing, because clearly this was a personality who had the day-to-day association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who could perceive the divine character of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and who by that perception must have been impacted, we would think. But this is the important point of the living entity's marginal position in this world, is that we can go either way. We have that free choice, and that free will gives us the ability to either serve Krishna or to not serve Krishna. Even in the most advanced association, if we misuse that free will, I mean, how much more advanced could it be that we were in Krishna's association and left that to come and try and enjoy here in this material world? So, in that circumstance, Kala Krishna became intimidated, and he rose early one morning and he went to the camp of the Bhattaharis to associate with these ladies of questionable character. So Lord Chaitanya understood this, and he himself went to the camp of the Bhattaharis. And he approached the Bhattaharis not in a challenging way. Certainly Lord Chaitanya had the right to challenge them, but he approached in a neutral way. My dear sirs, you're sannyasis. As I mentioned, they dressed like sannyasis. By no means were they qualified as genuine Vaishnava sannyasis. But you're sannyasis. You are living a renounced life. I am a sannyasi. Why have you caused me trouble by taking my servant? What is the meaning in this? I don't see any good logic in what you're doing. Now, in Lord Chaitanya's travels, he would discuss with logicians, and they would debate back and forth. And he would speak with different religionists, the Buddhists and the Mayavadis and the Ramanujas, and he would discuss philosophical points, and these conclusions would be based on logic and proper presentation. So he said to the Bhattacharya, there's no logic in what you've done. I'm a sannyasi, you're a sannyasi, you've taken my servant, and this is causing me pain. What is the purpose of this? Please, you give my servant back. Very neutral position. I mean, he could have come in with Sudarshan Chakra blazing. So, but what did the Bhattacharys do? How did they react? Their reaction is indicative of their lack of proper behavior. They all gathered up their weapons because they were, a nomadic tribe. They had their means of defending themselves. They gathered up all of their weapons and began to en masse charge at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to attack him. How is this the gentle character of a sannyasi? So here is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu standing, and the Bhattacharys are en masse charging at him with their weapons, and the most amazing thing happened. All of their weapons fell out of their hands and turned upon them. So they were now being attacked by their own weapons, so to speak. Cut to pieces, harmed in this way and that, and they began to run away in the opposite direction. It mentions they ran in the four directions of the world. So, roaring and crying and just pitiful, they abandoned this effort to try and attack the Lord. And then what did the Lord do? He went to his servant, Kala Krishna, and he grabbed him by the hair, by the sika. And he grabbed him by the sika and drug him away. So merciful was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Mahaprabhu could have taken the position that, my devotee has gone astray. So many devotees have gone astray. So many jivas have chosen Maya over service to the Lord. What can be done? But he was attached to seeing that this devotee was saved. So by the hair, he took him and he drug him back to his camp. They went back to the camp, went to the river they were staying at, took their bath, and continued on with their journey. Chaitanya Charitamrita does not mention that Mahaprabhu needled Kala Krishna about this incident. We can imagine that sometimes if you make a mistake, associates will be very fond of needling us, of prodding us, of teasing us, of harassing us. There is no mention in Chaitanya Charitamrita of Lord Chaitanya's behavior in that manner. His servant returned, the servant took up the service, he continued. So, in this way he went to the Adi Keshava temple, in this way he went to the Rangaji temple. Chaitanya Charitamrita continues to describe that this was during the time when he found the chapter of the Brahma Samhita describing how Sita was, all of these different things. He found all these different shastras, and so in this way he continued. And then it mentions that he, after finishing with his travels, he returned to Jagannath Puri. In returning to Jagannath Puri, then he spent some time there and was going to make another tour. I believe he was going to Vrindavan, if I'm not correct. Let me just check here. So he was going to go out from Jagannath Puri again. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya came to him with the same presentation. He said, "My dear Lord," he said, "could you please take a servant with you? You cannot travel by yourself. You previously had Kala Krishna, take him again." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Bhattacharya," he said, "please just consider this man's character. He went with me to South India. You're absolutely right. I took him there, and what happened? He became attached to the Bhattacharys, and he abandoned my service. I had to go and rescue him, and now I have brought him back here to Jagannath Puri. I would prefer that he leaves Jagannath Puri. I do not want his association here. He is not fit to live in Jagannath Puri. He can go wherever he likes, for I no longer have any responsibility for him." Imagine the Supreme Personality of Godhead claiming, I no longer have any responsibility for you. This was Kala Krishna's circumstance. He had this opportunity of association with the Lord, direct, personal, one-on-one service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But because he misused his independence, he lost not only the opportunity for that service, but the opportunity for future opportunities at that service. And the Lord denounced him. I have no more responsibility for this man. I will not take any more charge of him. So, imagine how Kala Krishna felt. Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions that when Kala Krishna heard that the Lord has rejected me, what did he do? What would any of us do? He began to cry pitifully. He began to weep genuine tears of moroseness, of remorse, of separation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not care for me. With that, Mahaprabhu left and took his lunch. This was all said to Bhattacharya in front of Kala Krishna. He was standing right there. Now, the devotees, it is often said, the devotees are more merciful than the Lord. This is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, in their efforts to preach the message of Bhagavad Gita. This is mentioned in numerous times in the Chaitanya Leelas, where a devotee would go astray and the devotees would come and request mercy. So Nityananda, Jagadananda Pandit, Mukunda, and Sarup Damodar, they all spoke amongst themselves. Kala Krishna is a simple-hearted Brahmin. He's a bit young. He has made a mistake. We cannot let the Lord reject him. We must arrange a plan. So, but we know from past times, past experiences, that if we go to the Lord, what was it, Gopinath Patanayaka? He had gotten himself into some financial misdealings and was about to be punished. And they went to the Lord, and the Lord said, if you bring this up to me again, I will eat puri, and none of you will hear about me. I am not involved in these kind of matters. So they knew they couldn't approach him, but how to save Kala Krishna, what to do with him. So they decided, the Lord has been in Jagannath Puri for some time. He's returned from South India. Someone should go to Bengal and take message of the Lord's well-being to Mother Sachi. And then they can take Mahaprasad from Lord Jagannath and meet with the Bengali Vaisnavas. We'll engage Kala Krishna in this way. So, in this way, devotees like Advaitacharya, devotees like Srinivas, who had heard the Lord had returned from South India, but no news as to his activities or how his travels had gone, they would be satisfied. So they said, therefore we will send Krishnadas to Bengal. So they engaged him and kept him in the service of the Lord, and this gave Kala Krishna some assurance. This gave him some assurance that he would not be banished from the process of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, may we please have your permission? Mother Sachi, Advaitacharya, Srinivas, they would all like to know. They would like to have news of your tour of South India. One person should be sent to inform them of how things have gone, and we would suggest that person should be Krishnadas. Mahaprabhu said, as you like. Do whatever you decide. In other words, giving his blessings, but not taking a position. So in this way, Kala Krishnadas was sent to Bengal with the Mahaprasadam of Lord Jagannath, the message of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, given the opportunity to give that information to Mother Sachi, who was so satisfied to hear about her son. And then in this way to visit with Advaitacharya, who was greatly pleased to hear all of the details, because this is a person who was there for those pastimes in South India and could tell everything. Well, maybe he didn't tell everything. Of course, Advaitacharya is none different than Mahavishnu. He already knew. But the point is that in this way he was given this opportunity to continue in some good service and bring some great pleasure and satisfaction to Sachimata. So this is one personality, Kala Krishnadas, who had that opportunity for wonderful personal association with the Lord and didn't utilize it in its best means. Now, I'd like to talk now about a person who was on the other side of the coin, the opposite of this circumstance, if you will, and that is Paramananda Puri. We will come to know him by 3 different names, but Paramananda Puri is the name we will start off with. Paramananda Puri, of course, was the son of Shivananda Sen. Shivananda Sen had 3 sons, Chaitanya Das, Ram Das, and Paramananda Puri. We'll come to know how Paramananda Puri got the name Kavi Karnapur, that you may know him more commonly by that name. Kavi Karnapur is actually considered to directly be a branch of the tree of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His father, of course, we know the wonderful pastimes of Shivananda Sen. We have spoken about him a great number of times. And Shivananda Sen was an intimate associate of the Lord. Kavi Karnapur wrote a book called the Gaur Gonadesha Dipika, the lamp by which one can understand the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this book he mentions that his mother and father were previously the great devotees of the Lord in Braj Leela. Vera was the devotee that was the go-between between Radha and Krishna. And his mother was a gopi named as Bindu Mati. So these 2 personalities became his parents. It's understood that, of course, Kavi Karnapur in his own writings would not describe his own circumstance. We found that Krishnadas Kaviraj made no mention of any serious detail of his own background, except when it was connected to the pastimes of Lord Nityananda. Sanatan Goswami and Lokanath Goswami, when they gave their blessings, Bhugarbha, for Krishnadas Kaviraj to write Chaitanya Charitamrita, they requested no information be put in the book about them. So obviously Kavi Karnapur did not put anything in there. But there's one book written called the Vaisnava Charya Darpanam. And this book gives the identity of Kavi Karnapur as also one of the Shaki associates of the gopis in Braj. So in this way we see a little bit of the background. Now Shivananda Sen, as I mentioned, the youngest son was Paramananda Puri, and all 3 of the brothers were great associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all very attached to his service and to the pastimes. They had all accompanied the family, Shivananda Sen and his wife and all of the devotees, as they would go back and forth like this. Very, very wonderful. So, actually the entire family of Shivananda Sen was blessed with the unlimited mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord used to tell his other associates, this is my actual family. That they were very dear to him. And he said, as long as Shivananda Sen and his family are in Puri, every day they should get my remnants. How wonderful. Imagine that. Lord Chaitanya says, every day so-and-so gets the remnants from my plate. So wonderful like that. So, one time, Shivananda Sen was coming, and the mother was pregnant. The child was not born yet. And so the pastime came to be that the Lord indicated this child, his name will be Paramananda. So, actually, no, I take that back. Excuse me. The Lord indicated his name would be Puridas. Shivananda Sen and his wife named him Paramananda, and so he came to be known as Paramananda Puri. Now, when the boy was very young, he was just a little baby. He was brought by Shivananda Sen and Mata to Jagannath Puri for the annual pilgrimage. We've talked about this before. It would take 2-3 months to travel from Bengal to Puri, and they would stay in Puri for 1 month, 2 months like that. and then 2 or 3 months to travel back. So the majority of the year was going to and fro and staying in Puri. I don't know how they managed to maintain themselves, their livelihood. Shivananda was a very, very wealthy personality. So somehow or another this was done. So in one of these visits, the child had only recently been born. How recent it doesn't say, but he was a young baby crawling. So, sometimes if you'll see in your temple, I've watched this many times here in Alachua. Alachua, I think, is a word that means unlimited children under the age of 8. I think that's what the definition of the word Alachua is, because any time I've been here in the last 14 years, there's unlimited children under the age of 5. So sometimes you'll see when the parent brings the new child, who's maybe just a little toddler, into the deities, they will put the child down and kind of, not in a rough way, but forcibly get the child accustomed to offering obeisances. So this happened when Shivananda Sen and Mataji came before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they brought in the young baby, Paramananda, or Puri Das as Mahaprabhu called him, and they put him down to offer dandavats at the Lord's feet. And what did the child do? Srila Prabhupada explains that Ayurveda teaches there are different levels of realization. And the very beginning level of realization is called anamoy. That one perceives everything according to how it goes in their mouth. So Puri Das was put down to offer his dandavats at the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the little child looked up, and what did he do? He saw the toe of Mahaprabhu, and he grabbed that toe and put it into his mouth and began to suck on the big toe of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All of the devotees standing and watching that, Haribo! Everyone was so overjoyed. This little boy was sucking on the big toe of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this was the beginning of Puri's association with and appreciation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu, jokingly, of course, as I mentioned, called him Puri Das in this way. And the child was very much appreciated. So as time went on, every year he would come. At the age of 7, when he was coming to Puri, he received Nam Diksha directly from the mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him the holy name into his ear at the age of 7 years old. He was then ordered by the Lord, empowered, if you will, by the Lord, to speak some sweet praise, some nice words. So on his own, he created one poetic verse, which I'll read here. Shravasho Kuvalaya Makshanor Ajanam Urasho Mahendramanidam Vrindavana Ramani Nam Mandanam Akhilanam Hari Jayati. All glories to Lord Hari, the ornament of all the beauty of Vrindavan, as a blue lotus for the ears, black kumkum for the eyes, kajal for the eyes, and a necklace of blue sapphires decorate his breast. This is a prayer that he created on the spot. So everyone that was present was very much charmed. Oh, very sweet poetry of this young boy. Such a little child, 7 years old, and he's making such nice poetry. Oh, this is very, very nice. So they were all appreciating the wonderful qualities of this verse. It mentions that the gods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they were unable to understand how the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was manifesting in the qualities of this young 7-year-old boy Puri Das. Swarup Damodar Prabhu, understanding that the Lord had given his special mercy to him, he said, this boy's poetry pleases the heart and completely fills the ears with nectar. Therefore, his name should be Kavi Karnapur. And this is how he got the name. Kavi, of course, means poet, poetry, speaking like that. And Karna means ear, and Purna means full. So one who is full from the nectar coming into your ear. So very, very nice name. This is how he got this name. So in this way, year after year they would come. it mentions that one year they came to Puri, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the young boy, maybe not so young now, I guess maybe 10, 11 years old by now, and said to Paramananda Puri, to Puri Das, he said, chant the name of Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. Puri Das said nothing, not a word. He simply put his head down. Well, the Lord encouraged, no, my boy, chant. I mean, after all, his name is Kavi Karnapur. He's spoken such beautiful poetry. Chant, chant. Put his head down. Shivananda Sain was a little embarrassed. He encouraged, my dear son, please, chant, chant. He wouldn't say a word. This was very, very much confused. Mahaprabhu said, I'm amazed by this. I had made the entire universe take up the name of Krishna. But I cannot get this boy to repeat the name of Krishna. I do not understand this. Sarup Damodar, of course we know Sarup Damodar was the Mahaprabhu's associate through all this time. So Sarup Damodar was there, and he said, I think I understand. You have given the Krishna mantra to this boy. You are his guru. And it says that one should not speak publicly the mantra given by the guru. Therefore he will not say this. Ask him something else. So the Lord said, oh, I can see this boy has a very deep understanding of the Shastras, even at such a young age. All right, recite a verse of your preference. So in this way, Paramananda Puri spoke some very nice verse, giving some glorification, and the Lord was very, very satisfied. So it's quite amazing, because having received that, he did not want to speak it publicly. This is sometimes done. But when the other opportunity gives some other glorification, he immediately was very eager, very enthusiastic to jump at that opportunity. Now, although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was considered to be his guru, he did take what you might call proper initiation. It mentions that his guru was Srinath Chakravarti, and that Srinath Chakravarti actually comes in a line directly from Advaita Acharya, and was in that line of succession. So we can understand that Kavi Karnapur is coming in the line from Advaita Acharya by way of this initiation to Srinath Chakravarti. Actually, in the beginning of his book, which book is it? Ananda Vrindavan Champu, he offers his respects to Srinath Chakravarti before beginning the book. So this is, of course, suitable that one should do like this. He also mentions that in another introductory verse to the same work, he mentions how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the family deity of Shivananda Sain and his sons and wife. That Mahaprabhu had adopted them as his own family, and they had adopted Mahaprabhu, so to speak, as their son. So in this way, he became their family deity even. So very, very wonderful. At the age of 16, Kavi Karnapur began his, how shall we say, prolific writing career. And the first book that he wrote was the Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya. And it's considered to be a masterpiece of rasa poetry. Now, Kavi Karnapur defines rasa because, sometimes people misunderstand. And nowadays you get so many people using the word rasa that means so many things. But Kavi Karnapur gives the following definition. That dearmost sentiment which is tasted in a purified heart, absolutely purged of all worldliness by contact with Suddha Sattva, that's pure transcendental goodness, that which is the fountainhead of that striking, varied, charming sweetness, and is far beyond the realm of this world, is rasa. So now we know the actual definition of rasa is given by Kavi Karnapur. So in this way, at the age of 16, he began a career which included, there's more than a dozen books that he has written that are of noteworthy significance. And of course, as I've mentioned, the one that we are most commonly familiar with, the two, would be the Gaura Ganadesha Dipika and the Ananda Vrindavan Champu. So here is an example of someone who had an astonishing opportunity from his very early years to associate with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By keeping good association of his family members, who were all exalted devotees, and by guarding himself against the entrance of Maya, he was able to benefit from that association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As I said, just the opposite of what we see from the example at the beginning here of Kala Krishnadas. Now I have one other personality who is in the second category that I'd like to speak about, and his name is Kashishwar Pandit. There are many different personalities who are considered great associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who we may have less than voluminous biographical work on. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to try and collect a few of them around a central point and share some of their pastimes with the devotees, because it's important that we understand them, as well as the wonderfully magnanimous personalities of Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, like that. So Kashishwar Pandit was also known as Kashishwar Brahmacharya, Kashishwar Goswami. And in the time of Krishna, he was Krishna's servant Bringara. And his brother, Govinda, was Krishna's other servant, Bangura. So these were two associates of Krishna's during his cowherd pastimes. And these two brothers manifested themselves as Kashishwar Pandit and Govinda. Now, Kashishwar Pandit and Govinda, their father's name was Vasudeva Bhattacharya, and he was a very, very proper Brahmin, very nice Brahmin. And they were both disciples of Ishwar Puri. Now, we discussed some weeks ago about the, I forget which devotee it was now, but we were discussing, I'm going to interrupt here. I see that Bhakti Carol has to leave. She's been in our chat room and watching and here since the beginning, and she's mentioning she has something she has to go for. Bhakti Carol, we look forward to seeing you join us again next week. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Hare Krishna. So, we mentioned previously that the associates of the Guru are generally, the godbrothers of the Guru, are generally treated by the disciple of the Guru as the Guru, as long as they're qualified. I can't remember who we were speaking about in this regards now. At any rate, so Ishwar Puri, his disciples were this Kashishwar Pandit and his brother Govinda. This means that they were also the godbrothers with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, in this way, there was more of a cooperative serving. As I mentioned, those of equal status, that they share with each other, confide with each other, work with each other. Generally, it's not seen of accepting service from our godbrothers, although it's inevitable in this world. But generally, that's not the way it's done. So, these two personalities, they were actually servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how did this come about? Well, it's a very interesting story, because when Ishwar Puri was preparing to leave this world, to return to that spiritual abode, he personally instructed Kashishwar and Govinda that after my departure from this world, you should both go to Puri and place yourself as the servants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and assist him. Now, it mentions that Govinda immediately went after Ishwar Puri's departure. Straight away, he went to Jagannath Puri. And when he arrived there, he introduced himself. He said, I am the servant of Ishwar Puripad. My name is Govinda, and on his order, I have come to serve you. At the time of his departure, he directly ordered me, you go and serve Krishna Chaitanya. Kashishwar will also come, but he will first tour the holy places before his arrival. So in this way, Govinda introduced himself with the order he had received and told of his brother's imminent arrival after his touring of the holy places. Now, Mahaprabhu considered them both to be his seniors because they had served with him to his spiritual master. They were senior in initiation to Ishwar Puri, to himself. They were his senior godbrothers. So he was thinking, how can I engage like this? I can't not accept their service. So he turned to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And he asked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, what should I do? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told him, you must certainly obey the instruction of your spiritual master. And in this case, his instruction is to accept the service of these two disciples. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, as Lakshman accepted the order of his elder brother Ram, the orders of the Guru are never to be debated. I will follow the orders of my Guru and accept these two because he is such a great personality and has sent them to do this service. So in this way, the two of them had their service charted out for them. Govinda, of course, was the personal servant of the Lord. We know this very well through the latter pastimes, the Antya-lila, that Govinda was always there. He would travel with the Lord around Puri, carry his water pot, take care of his personal needs. So then we might ask, what was the service of Kashishwar? Well, it's explained that Kashishwar Pandit was a very stout and strong devotee. He was not a simple, humble, small Brahmin. And he was a very stout devotee. So his service was to precede the Lord when the Lord would go to the Jagannath temple, because crowds and crowds would come to see him and hold back the crowds. He would literally push the crowds out of the way and give the Lord opportunity, protect the Lord from the pressure and from the enclosing crowds, and give the Lord the opportunity to walk. And in this way, he would make a pathway for the Lord. And the Lord could then travel throughout the crowds without being touched and bothered and like this. So, in the same way, during the Rath Yatra pastimes, it's mentioned that the Lord was constantly dancing. And there were 3 rings of associates around the Lord. I had an experience when I was in Vrindavan in the late 80s that I was at the Radharaman temple for the appearance day of Radharaman. And they were going to the Jamuna to collect water. And what they did was the priest went dressed in their priestly finest with the pots of water to collect the Jamuna. Immediately surrounding them was a row of other priests. And then surrounding them was a circle of personalities carrying flags. And then surrounding them was a circle of kirtan personalities. So in the same way, it mentions that during the Lord's Rath Yatra activities, there were 3 rings of devotees around him. The first ring consisted of Nityananda and a few other intimate devotees. The second ring consisted of Kashishwar Pandit, Mukunda, and some others like that. And then the third ring consisted of King Prataparudra and his bodyguards. So in this way, the Lord was protected and given an ability to walk back through the crowds and dance in the kirtan and enjoy with great ecstasy. Another of Kashishwar Pandit's services was to distribute prasad. And after the kirtan, he was one of 7 devotees who would take the Mahaprasad of the Lord and distribute it to all the other Vaishnavas. Those 7 devotees were Sarup Damodar, Jagadananda, Damodar Pandit, Gopinath, Vaninath Vasu, and Shankar. These were the 6, and then of course Kashishwar Pandit. These 7 devotees would distribute the Mahaprasad to the devotees. Now, it's mentioned that Kashishwar also had the opportunity of associating with the Lord during some of his Navadvip pastimes, particularly in the kirtans at Srivasangam, and in one particular time when the Lord went to the home of Sridhar and drank from that iron pot, that it mentions that Kashishwar was there for that also. One interesting thing took place. When Rupa Goswami was in Vrindavan and discovered the Govindaji deity and began the seva, he wrote this letter to Mahaprabhu informing him. And immediately Mahaprabhu wanted, Kashishwar, you should go to Vrindavan and assist Rupa Goswami in the service of Govindaji. Well, you can imagine. How was it that Kashishwar was going to leave Puri and the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He did not want to go at all. Actually, in the Bhakti Ratnakar, Narhari Shakar, whose disappearance day is this week, by the way, he expressed, Kashishwar Pandit expressed to the Lord, "My dear Lord, to give up your association, this will cause my heart to split into two. But how can I disobey your order? My dear Lord, please come up with a means by which I can satisfy your desire but not suffer this separation." Excuse me. So it mentions, of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Paramatma, the living, super soul inside the heart of all living entities, and he can understand the heart. So he manifested, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested a deity of himself, a golden form of Krishna playing the flute. And he gave this deity to Kashishwar Pandit. And to strengthen Kashishwar Pandit's faith, he sat down next to the deity and had Kashishwar Pandit serve both of them prasadam, and they took prasad together. And in this way, Kashishwar Pandit's faith was strengthened. And Mahaprabhu told him, "You will call this deity Gaur-Gopal." So this is the Gaur-Govinda, Gaur-Govinda. And in this way, he took him with him, and Gaur-Govinda was set next to Govindaji and was worshipped in this way. And of course, in due course of time, when the Muslims came to destroy everything and the deities were sent to Jaipur, Gaur-Govinda also went. And if you go to the Govindaji temple now in Jaipur, you'll see right there, next to Govindaji, is the self-same deity manifested by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the service of Kashishwar Pandit, so that he could fulfill the desire of following the order of Mahaprabhu, but not have to suffer from that separation. So these are a couple of devotees that had the opposite type of association with Mahaprabhu. Kala Krishnadas on one hand was not able to take the best advantage, but by the mercy of associating with the Vaishnavas, he was given some service. And then we have Kavi Karnapur and Kashishwar Pandit, who were very expert in being able to secure that service at the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and hold on to it and not give that up. So, a couple of examples for us to look at and to strengthen our own faith and to strengthen our own commitment of keeping association with the Vaishnavas, of keeping association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however we serve him, in his form as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his form as Jagannath, in his form as Radha Shyam Sundar, and not let Maya perform her duty expertly and drive us away from the association of the Lord. So we'll finish there with this evening's chapter of Lives of the Vaishnavacharyas. We have some persons in the chat room here. Manjesh is back. It's very good to see you, Manjesh, or see that you're present. One of these days we'll get two-way cameras on all this. So if any of you have any questions, anything you would like to bring up, I'll do my best to answer it. We're not very expert, but whatever questions you have, we'll try and sort those out. We do, as I say, want to encourage the devotees that we are going to be continuing our series like we have in the past every Monday night, and we've been able to arrange a time from my work schedule where I've got Monday nights off for doing this, and so we're there trying to help share the lives of these Vaishnavacharyas and their wonderful example of the qualities that we want to develop as a devotee with all of you. So we have no questions coming in, so I think we're going to finish for this evening, and we thank you all very much and request you to please join us again next week for another chapter in the lives of the Vaishnavacharyas. I'm your host, Chaturatma. Hare Krishna.